volunteer bank.
All right,
It's
you're
according to my
last.
clock, exactly 5:30, so we're good. According to that clock, it looks like about the same, so let's call the meeting to order. Ms. Show, would you give us an invocation, please?
I will. All right, let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, I just thank you for this day, Lord, and I thank you for allowing everyone to arrive safely, Lord, and for keeping us safe today with the weather that we had last night, Lord. I ask that you would please be with each of us as we make decisions and help us to set any personal agendas aside. For it's in your Son's precious name I pray. Amen.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
before you adopt the agenda, I'd like to add an item under my report is a policy for using the owl. And I've got Commissioner Tinsley here answering your questions about it.
Motion to approve as amended.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda. Is there any other changes or additions? All in favor, say aye.
Can we get-
Opposed, say nay. Okay, approval of minutes of the October 15th meeting.
So moved.
Is there there's been a
Second.
motion, is there seconds? Okay, any discussion, any corrections? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay, okay.
Do we need to take nominations for chair?
Not yet, it's under
Okay.
old business.
Oh, didn't
Recognition of the public, is there any, oh, by the way, before we get started, I'm sorry. Mr. Sullivan will not be here, as he's out of town, he texted me the other day, so, I'm sorry, I couldn't. Recognition of the public, is there any members of the public here who would like to be recognized?
Yes, sir. Louis Balch.
Okay, state your name, please,
Louis Balch.
And your address?
LCH,
and your address,
500 Wolfhill Road, Bethpage.
and you're here to speak to one of the items on the agenda?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you may speak.
In this step.
Which,
I'm here.
if you want to come forward, close to the table, that'd be great, thank you.
Okay. I'm here to address the nuisance noise ordinance that's proposed on the agenda.
Okay.
I'm sure that most of us have lived in a neighborhood where at one time or another in our life has had one individual that makes life rough for everybody. And in this case, it's a motocross track basically for his 3 kids, 200 feet within distance of my house. And I'm not the only one with a problem with this similar situation. I've been reading, as a lot of us do, on Facebook, and seeing where other people have had problems with noise ordinances in the county. People just literally being a horse's hind end. I went up to this individual that I'm talking about, spoke to him nicely and asked him if there was something he could do about the noise. Stood there flat-footed and told me no. When he has property behind his house, up in the woods, where he could go with a bush hog, clear a little track in the field, that have plenty of quiet space to run in. But this would not only address that problem, but it would address other loud vehicles, loud parties, and as y'all have read in the ordinance, or should have by now, I've written in certain exceptions to it, which would include property maintenance, construction, logging, and a couple of other items. And I've been informed by a lawyer that right now, since there is no county noise ordinance, period, I don't even have leeway to take him to court and sue him to stop the noise. And this is not just noise that I hear outside. This is noise that I hear inside my house, above the TV and above the stereo. So bad that my wife can't lay down of an afternoon and take a nap if she chooses to. And sometimes she actually needs to. So I'm coming before y'all to see if there's anything that we can do about this.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Balch.
What's his address?
What was your address again?
500 Wolf Hill Road, Bethpage.
Okay. Is there anybody else here to speak to an item on the agenda? All right, well, I'll call the public, recognition of the public closed. Report of the chairman, Mr., I don't have a chair, I don't have a report. We'll get to elections in just a moment. Report of the county mayor, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. I don't know how many copies we have, but we weren't really prepared. This did pass the ad hoc committee. It's a policy dealing with the use of the OWL and videotaping committee meetings. It was passed and sent to this body with recommendation that you consider this, and basically I can go over it very quickly. What it does, it establishes guidelines, minimum requirements governing the use of the county-provided video system called the OWL. Basically, the ad hoc committee, along with some department heads that I had helped draft this, this will be the responsibility of the county commission or the county commission chairman of each committee. You can designate a commissioner to record your meetings with the OWL. There's a very minimum training involved. We will have it in a storage unit, either a closet or a safe, to where you have access at the beginning of the meeting. You can choose to take that out and record the meetings. And then once it's recorded, it'll be picked up by our RT director, and then he will take that and download that and put it on YouTube. And then there'll be a link through the county clerk's office to put that on the website. Also, that these recordings will be kept on site here for 1 year, and then after that period, they will be archived. And there's a request for $1,000 for a storage facility to up to $1,000. That'll go to budget if it's passed in this committee in a resolution form, so we can establish a policy for who's responsible for recording the meetings. And there's no real physical note involved, since it's county commission driven, and you're responsible for it.
Did you say who's responsible?
That's terrible. Terrible.
Sorry.
And the chairman, Mr. Tinsley's here, Commissioner Tinsley, and I'm sure he can answer any of your questions.
Without objection, if Commissioner Tinsley has something to say or ask potential questions.
Mayor Holt's kind of gone over, so it's really cut and dry. I mean, there's not much.
It was unanimous, correct?
Right.
So,
But it will require training. To some
yes,
extent.
and I do want to make you aware, we're going to have photographs this coming Monday night for our portraits that we typically do every commission. And our IT director, Mr. Carey, will be here then to provide training. Anybody who's interested, from 4 to 7, I believe, is portrait time, correct?
4:30 to 7.
4:30 to 7. So beyond that, if you don't want to be trained then and you're interested, then you can always come here during the day, and he will be glad to train you. And it's a very simple process, right, Commissioner? You've been trained?
It takes about a minute.
Takes about a minute. There you go.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Chairman Langford and seconded by Commissioner Good that we approve this resolution. I'm assuming we'll get a written copy of it.
We
at
will.
the
They amended
commission
some
meeting?
portions of it. You may
We'll
want
have
to
to
explain
we'll have to
that.
send it out with a packet because there were amendments made.
I understand.
that
That's fine.
make it confusing.
But it's pretty straightforward. I think I got the gist of it. Is that correct?
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay. And it'll go from here to, if we approve it here, it'll go to budget, is that correct?
For funding for the storage.
Correct.
And then this will go straight, the policy will go straight on to the county commission to pass in legislature from this committee.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
My only question is, could we do, not just upload them to YouTube for free?
Oh, we do.
It's the
But-
storage of the owl.
It's the storage. We've got to store it so you can get it out.
Oh, the
and
owl
record.
storage. I
Yes.
thought you meant like storage of
Owl needs an owl.
files.
No, the video.
If you don't have security, it'll fly away.
Especially at night.
Oh, my goodness. I'm so glad it's
You've
on
got
video
more
for us to
mileage
remember.
on it.
Yes, he
For
has.
us to look back
And he's
on.
loving every second of
This
it.
is continuing month to month.
Yeah.
He is killing it.
Any more discussion about
Thank you.
Woodsy the owl?
I got it, Paul.
All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay, okay. That passed unanimously. Anything else, Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, and I'm going to turn the chairman of the meeting over to Chairman Langford for the election of the committee chair and vice chair.
Okay, do we have any nominations from the committee for chair? Mr.
Nominate Baker.
A second.
Okay. Mr. Baker Ring. Anyone else? Okay.
Move cease.
Okay. Nominations are ceased. All in favor of Commissioner Baker Ring continuing as chair, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. I'll turn it back over to Chairman Ring.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Election of a vice chairman. Our current vice chairman is Michelle. Is there a motion for vice chairman?
I'll nominate Paul Goode.
Second.
Okay. Nomination for Mr. Good, Commissioner Good. Any other nominations? All right, all right, I guess will nominations cease since there's no other nominations. All in favor of Commissioner Good as vice chairman, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you very much.
Kind of silly to oppose now, wouldn't it, since we didn't nominate anybody else?
I'm not- You gotta go.
Never
through
know these
motions.
days.
True.
Any abstentions? I should have asked about that. All right, new business. Veteran Service Report is attached.
Is it, really?
It is.
That new assistant he has is really,
She's on it.
Good.
And,
He or she
and
is on
he's
it.
still in medical leave?
He's on medical leave, that's correct.
Okay. Any questions or comments about that? I appreciate that. Okay. Noise ordinance, is that coming through you?
Well,
Ms. Denny?
and it's come through me.
Denny.
First of all, you have to remember, we don't have ordinances. Ordinances come through cities or counties that have charters, which we do not have.
Correct.
Noise ordinances or noise resolutions for the county are something that are extremely hard to pass and to make constitutional, because if you make exceptions, you've got to have those exceptions across the board. So farm equipment, cows, those sort of things, why are you excluding those? What I always tell people when they contact me with a noise issue is if they are doing anything to interfere with your enjoyment of your property, you have a private nuisance action. So if the lawyer told you they couldn't do that, I'd be happy to talk to them and explain it to them, because there's been several noise resolution type issues, nuisance actions that have gone through this county. They've been hurting Chancery Court, and we've sent information that shows that we didn't have anything. The problem with anything that we'd have would just literally be a resolution saying don't make noise. We don't have the equipment to test for noise levels. You have to be consistent across the board, and also you have to remember that we as the county cannot criminalize anything. So the most we could do is fine somebody $50 if we took them to court for a noise violation, but you'd have to have the equipment to test the levels. And it's, you can't say we're not gonna get onto you if it's farm equipment, but we are going to do anything if it's motocross, or if it's I had somebody call one day that was livid about bees. And, they may make a lot of noise, but there's not really anything that we as the county can do.
I've had a complaint in my district about a family that raises hunting dogs, and they've got, 30 puppies in kennels in their backyard.
Mr. Langford.
What about time, because I know like in my district, I haven't this year, but in the past I've gotten a lot of complaints about Monster Mountain. It's a haunted house and they run it from like Labor Day through
Halloween.
a little bit later. They actually run 2 days later.
I think legally you would have to have a conditional use permit to do that.
Well, they get that, the problem is they gotta,
Well,
the licensing was not hard to get. The problem was that you're out in the middle of the countryside
Right.
and they're blaring loud music and
Right.
stuff till about 2 a.m. every night of the week. And, it was one of the things I could understand the homeowners. It was really frustrating because I understand, like, we got freedom of speech, all those kind of issues to think through with the noise ordinance. But I wondered if there would be, if some kind of medium might be like 10 p.m. to 8 a.m.,
There
something
again,
like that.
what are you doing about the cows and the bees?
No, cows aren't too noisy.
Commissioner Hill.
The only thing I can say is, in Nashville, we have it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not very helpful.
Okay.
It was originally put up because they were trying to do something with certain clubs, after-hours clubs, things like that. That was the intention, was to address unlicensed clubs, different places where they just set up rave parties, that kind of thing. And the problem we got into in any kind of enforcement was, one, you had to document the level with noise meters, and then they have to be registered, and they had to, it was a lot bigger hassle, and it was not helpful at all for prosecution. And when it boiled down to it, it wasn't a criminal act, and because it was and so it was just paying a fine, and for the majority of these people, they were fine just paying a fine and calling it a day.
Yeah, $50 was, yeah.
And what I would say for your, specifically one like that, there's a lot of state law that's very obscure, but it has to do with unruly houses. And it was originally intentioned, there's two different forms of it. There's one that was for prostitution and drugs, and there's one for violent crime. Those are examples of ones that you can use towards rental property. And I've done a lot with that over the years for narcotics, and we have in Metro, as far as for evictions, things like that. So there are avenues within the state law. They're just a little bit harder to find, but I would strongly suggest, sir, that you have a different attorney, because there is some recourse for you with that. And like Ms. Dim said, what I've seen in relation to the complaints in Nashville is it's a lot better when people actually go through it through different ways. A wholesale noise ordinance doesn't ever have the desired effect of being able to impact the ones you really want to impact. Instead, what happens is you'll have somebody, and it might call on a church or different things.
Church bells.
They're going to apply the same way, and that's what we found there is, and they wrote theirs really specific. Nashville did theirs in an idea, it was just to try and target clubs and unruly houses and things like that, and it still wasn't super helpful. In fact, Ascend Amphitheater, which is sanctioned by the city because they own it, gets noise complaints. So it's kind of, it's okay, that's what the law is. So, they've had to tell concerts you can only be at this certain level and this decibel, and then you have to measure. So it opens a lot of issues, and I have seen that it rarely addresses the one you want it to. But I would strongly suggest, sir, that, like Ms. Denham said, one, look at the applicable state law, and then also there might be some different ones that you might want to talk with our planning and zoning, because there is some issues as far as that they can and can't do on private, even though it's private property, about what you can and can't do, and make sure that they're within of what they are and aren't allowed to do.
Well, this is not a publicly open motocross
Oh, no, that's
track.
what I'm
Just for
saying. Yeah,
those boys.
no, that's what I'm saying. There's certain things you
To
can't
his
get away
children.
with.
Right.
Yeah.
There's certain things you can and can't do even on your own property. And that's why I said, just based on how it's zoned and what it may be, and that might be a different avenue. But all I can tell y'all is I understand what he's wanting to do, but it won't accomplish it. It's a problem. And I can say it from, 25 years of not seeing it work right.
Little experience.
Make a comment on this. One of the things a lot of people don't understand, a lot of commissioners probably don't understand it, is that we are a subset of the state. And we, the county commission, can only do what the state allows us to do. And they don't allow, that's not one of the things that they allow us to do, is to set a noise ordinance. So that's why it becomes tricky. I know Gallatin has a noise ordinance, and it's been utilized with regards to one establishment that has music on the weekends, and they've had to shut down. I was at a birthday party one time where it was very loud, and somebody complained, and when the police officer came out,
I'm sorry.
it was pointed out that the person whose birthday it was 75 years old, and the officer said, "Happy birthday," and left. This was on the lake. It was an open area, and a lot of music going on, but it's really difficult to enforce those things. So I agree with that, what you said.
Mr. Chairman, what
yes, sir.
about, I get some complaints about people shooting guns, automatic weapons, just blasting
Yeah, we
away
get
for
those
hours
too.
at
I
a
get a
time.
lot
you
of
know.
those.
Yep.
And that's a
kind of those.
nuisance action, and that's one of the nuisance actions that I have seen go through the courts, is where somebody was firing weapons and it was upsetting livestock, and they could show the damage
So
that it caused.
So it might be more of an issue of showing a repeated action that's a nuisance and then going through the courts that way that might get more action.
Yeah, because I mean, if we were able to do this, and we got a complaint, and we sent an officer out there to record it, it'd probably be over by the time we got there. So it's really nothing we could. I don't know that we can do anything. Anything else on this, Ms. Denham? Anything else anybody else has to make comments to make? Okay. Sorry, but that's where we are. Old Shiloh Bridge projects.
This has come from the highway department. This is a old bridge that's been messed up for, somebody told me, 20 years in Millersville that crosses into Davidson County. And people have to drive around the bend and back to get from one end of their neighborhood to the other. No one would fix the bridge because no one wanted to pay for it. The state has now agreed to fix the bridge, and this is just that we have to agree to it because it is actually in Sumner County.
We've been working this about 10 years.
At least 10 years.
10
So-
years,
I
so
know
we need
this-
to pass
I
it.
know
So
this
moved.
bridge.
So we have a
Second.
We have a motion
Yeah,
to
second
allow,
for sure. I
to
used to
allow the
drive it
state to
every
pay
day.
to fix the bridge.
Yeah, that's right.
So moved.
And there's been a second. I think Mr. Langford made the
Yeah,
motion,
no,
Ms. Shell seconded it.
Keith's trying to steal my motion.
Just because he's vice chairman doesn't mean he can take over people's motion.
I want your bridge.
Any more discussion on this? I'm sure we're happy to let the state pay for this.
Yes.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, thank you very much. That passed unanimously. Recognition of certificate of recognition for Griffin Johnson and Eagle Scouts.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, okay. Passed unanimously. And rezoning Briar Rose Hill.
This is just to get it on the agenda.
Docketing.
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
Motion adjourned.
Nope, wait.
Oh, sorry.
Don't second it yet.
Let's have a report on the wheel sticker. Want to? Where we at? On the emission test.
Emissions.
Oh,
I was like the wheel sticker. What?
I knew where you were going, I knew where you were going,
That's
Mr. Ray.
exactly what he meant.
Yeah.
I did too.
Talked to the federal end of things on Friday, and they said that the only thing holding it up is Metro. They've got to do rulemaking that then has a 30 to 90 day comment period, and then once that's done, the report will be turned in by the state, and they believe everything will be favorable.
Metro does not want to get out of Texas.
Yes, well, see, Metro
They do
doesn't
not.
qualify.
Well, they don't.
That's right.
They don't want to get out.
Well, anyway, but it's moving.
It didn't
and
happen
we-
by October when I.
Why are we back into state again, is what I don't understand.
Because there's a report that the state has to send in, and they've sent it in draft form.
T-Deck.
They were very complimentary of it, but we've poked them until they finally.
Good.
This lady called me, and then I was very impressed that she sent, because I told her, I said, I need you to send this to me in writing, and she did.
So we're not waiting on
That's you.
Washington.
Well,
we are.
Washington will have to get it, but we're waiting on the state at this moment.
Which is
We
waiting.
hadn't gotten that cue
We're
yet.
waiting on T-Deck so we can wait on Washington.
That's
There you
right.
go.
Right, but like I said, I felt like it was a very positive conversation.
Well, at least you got a response.
Yeah. which
In
is
writing.
better- Which is better than we've had.
Yes.
All right, any more discussion, questions, comments?
Could the county do something in lieu of?
Oh, sorry.
I heard a motion to, I think I heard a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You can stay here if you want to. All right, motion adjourned.
I'm gonna go pick up a girl.